Hey you guys, it's Peter, and welcome to my channel, Peterisms, where I tell stories of my life and just little things that I have learned as I have grown into the person that I am today. And if you haven't been watching my videos lately, I have announced recently that I was going to start a series over here of videos called Ask Peter, where people can either leave questions or suggestions for videos in the comment section, or you can direct message me on Instagram or email me. My email is listed below. And then you guys can ask me things to cover in a video just based on my own life experience. Nothing expert advice, just my own life experience. So I was kind of rolling through the comments today, the direct messages that I've received, and I screenshot them all and saved them and all that kind of stuff. And it was so strange because I literally just did this video unboxing over on my Peter Does Stuff channel. I did this video unboxing every month I do the Shy Wolf candle unboxing, okay? Which you get this candle, you get the tea light, which I actually didn't show the tea light in it. I forgot to do that. But this one is Sweet Emotion, and so it's like a sample. And then you get like a tarot or an affirmation card, and you get a little crystal. But you also, in every box, you get a card, and she writes this, or she types up this like 3-page letter. And it's a lot about like lessons that she's learning this month, inspiration. I love it. I wish she would write a book. I wish she would write a meditation inspiration book because her writing is just beautiful. So I'd done that, and then I was sitting here and I was like thinking about this one comment that I received, and I was like, oh, this is perfect. And I want to reference what it said in here because I think this makes a lot of sense in the context of what they asked me. So here is my very first new Ask Peter response. Are you guys ready? Okay. Peter, can you do a video about being ghosted? I think I've actually done maybe 1 or 2 videos over here about being ghosted in the past. You can look up, just put Peterisms ghosted or something like that. It might come up. I don't know. I feel like I have done one before though. I've been grieving for a year. All I was a body to him. He wanted someone who let him live rent-free. While I was sobbing every day, he was happily moving on. He met someone within days or weeks and got engaged. Wow. So hard. What makes it harder is I wasn't attracted to him, but I fell in love with him as he was so lovely. How amusing, as he's the cruelest, nastiest man of all. I can't move on. Well, first of all, I just want to say, I feel so for you, and I'm so sorry that you're going through this. I think you know, I've been in that situation before, and when I was in that situation, I can remember, well, you know, this would have been before I got sober, but I can remember, you know, like, dating guys and not really being that interested in them, but maybe they said some nice things to me or treated me in a nice way or took care of me one night or whatever. And I wasn't really that attracted to them or whatever, but then I ended up, you know, dating them because I was like, oh, this is a good opportunity, or this person seems like a nice thing. But then over time, what I realized was they didn't really care about me. They didn't really treat me that well. Whereas I was like doing everything I possibly could, you know? And so it hurt over time. I think that relationships are really reciprocal. I think they should be give and take. I think this idea of being in completely equal relationships, there's never going to be that. You know, there are days where I'm giving 80% and my husband's giving 20. There are days where my husband's giving 90% and I'm giving 10. In fact, when we got married, my dad spoke at our wedding. And one of the things that my dad said was that there's this idea that when you go into a marriage, each person gives, and this could be any relationship as well, not just a marriage, but that each person has to give 50-50. And he goes, that's not true. He said every person in a marriage needs to give 100% as much as they can, because on any given day, one person might only have 20% to give, and the next person, they have to complete it by giving the rest of the 80% to make the relationship work. And it kind of ebbs and flows, right? And I'm sure if you're in a relationship or you're in a marriage, even a friendship, even a work relationship or a neighbor relationship, you know, there are maybe times that they're going through hard times and you got to pick up the pieces and be there for them. There's times that they're there for you. And it's not this like keeping score kind of thing, right? But when you're doing a lot and then you get hurt, it's so painful. And I don't know that I would even call this being ghosted, in all honesty. I mean, being ghosted to me is a friend and I have plans to go out to dinner and they just don't show at all, you know? And like, that's what I call being ghosted. I don't know that I even consider it being ghosted when you're in a romantic relationship and that person breaks up with you and then a week later is dating somebody else and then gets engaged. That's painful is what that is. I don't know that I consider that being ghosted. I know that's the word that you use, but I'm just saying that to validate for anybody that's going out there, to the person that left this comment, that is some painful crap to go through, right? I think that what I had to learn in my life, and I think this is the hard piece, right? Is that I grew up with very loving parents and very loving friends, but outside of that, or friends of the family, but outside of that very small context, like I said, friends of the family, but I didn't have a lot of friends of my own. People at school were not very nice to me. Hell, even some teachers weren't that nice to me, and so outside of my immediate family and a few of our family friends, I didn't really have that many people lifting me up. So over time, this tape in my head was built. And the tape was, you're not good enough, you're not lovable, you're not attractive, there's something weird about you, you're not desirable, nobody wants to be friends with you, nobody wants you romantically, you don't fit in. I mean, it's like a million and one things that this tape had, right? Well, when you talk about that started probably at when I entered, I don't know, kindergarten, 5 or 6 years old, when I entered kindergarten all the way through high school, and then even after high school, And then, for 12 to 14 years, I'm constantly hearing all this negative stuff. Then I get in relationships, and some of the relationships that I was in were very, very toxic. I was in an abusive relationship, and I can remember, really I can remember being back in that situation and, and almost kind of making excuses, like, it was not a horrifically abusive situation. I don't make that clear, but it was enough. It was enough, and I can remember almost kind of like making excuses. Like, he would speak to me so horribly, and I can remember like his friends would even say things like, why are you speaking to Peter that way? And he'd be like, I'm just joking. I'd be like, yeah, he's just joking. This is just how we talk to each other. I can remember that, but in my head, I'm thinking, if they see it, why does he speak to me that way? Oh, I must be a piece of crap. It's okay, because I must be a piece of crap, and I deserve it. And there was a piece of me that really believed that. It took 20 years for me to unlearn that. It took, 20 years for me to unlearn. And still I struggle with that, Still I struggle with that. I think it leads so much into my codependency that for so long, I needed a man to define my worth. That if a man liked me, and if a man wanted to be with me, then that meant that I was good enough. Well, that's not the case, I'm good enough, and I get to choose today whether I want to be with somebody and they want to be with me. And that's 10 times more powerful. That's what Alex and I learned in therapy, right? I've shared that story before. And that's 10 times more powerful. I, today, am not wasting my time with people that don't want to be in my life, okay? Those aren't even red flags, green flags kind of things. Those are just like, when somebody doesn't want to be in my life, I'm not going to run after people and beg them to be in my life. I have done that. There have been moments in my life, long before I got sober, where I was literally on my knees begging people to stay. I will never do that again. When I look back on my life and I think of some of my moments that I'm the most ashamed, it was those moments, where I was literally begging somebody that, in retrospect, was not a great person, begging them to stay. And really, it wasn't because I loved them or they were this great person, because they weren't. They didn't treat me well. It was because I didn't know who I was without their validation. I needed their validation. I don't need anybody's validation today. I need my own validation. And I know today that I'm good enough, that I'm lovable. I know those things, even though it might sound trite and cheesy, like it's, on the TV show, the Saturday Night Live or Mad TV or whatever, he's like, and gosh darn, I'm good enough. But it's the truth. And it took me a long time to be able to say that. 20 years ago, I could never have said it out loud, let alone on camera. But I know those things about myself today, I don't base my opinion of myself on the opinion of others. I don't, because I know myself better than anybody else does. And I'm more honest with myself than anybody else is going to be honest with me. I know my worth today. I know who I am inside, and I know that I am a lovable person, and I know that I'm a good person, And do I make mistakes? Sure. You're a good person. You're a lovable person. You deserve to be treated well, okay? And somebody, and I don't, relationships are so multi-sided. There might be 100 different sides of this relationship, but I don't know. Your ex might be like, well, wait a second. What they're not telling you is, I don't know, okay? I don't know. But from what you're telling me, right? Somebody that leaves that quickly, gets in another relationship that quickly, first of all, anybody, okay, whatever conditions they leave on, I always say, take time off between relationships to get to know yourself again. Because you're a changed person after you get out of that relationship. What that person is saying is, they were gone before they ever left, all right? I don't want to be with somebody that is being present, that doesn't want to be there, two exes ago, I'm not into the whole breaking up thing. I broke up with my ex before that kind of broke up with me, but I don't think it really matters. But I can remember us having this conversation, and he said something, and I said, I don't want to keep somebody here that doesn't want to be here. I'm not going to do that. I want you to go live your life and be happy. I want you to be free. I don't want to keep somebody in a situation that doesn't want to be here. I think today I look at those situations differently. There's a freedom that comes from that, right? And my circle is very small. I don't really have people that leave me very often today, or that I have these feelings, And I take relationships, friendships, whatever, I take them very seriously today. I do. I take them very, very seriously. And I also take them as learning moments. So when a situation like this, and especially in a romantic situation, happens like that to me, or when it's happened in the past, I can remember being in treatment and dating this guy that, like I said, it was the relationship was not healthy. It was toxic. It was abusive at times. And I can remember just being fixated on him when I was in treatment. And he had already moved on and was dating somebody else, and I was like in my head, like, what can I do to get him back? Why wasn't I good enough? Why wasn't I not enough? What did I need to be so that he would have liked me? Why didn't he like me? And what I know today is those were all the wrong questions, okay? It wasn't about who did I need to be so that he could like me. It wasn't about why wasn't I enough. It wasn't about all these different things. And sure, I was a mess, okay? I was a mess and nobody to date, but he was a mess too, all right? He was absolutely a mess. Today, what I know the right questions would be is, why didn't I see it sooner? Why wasn't I aware that I am good enough and I am lovable enough, and I put up with this shit because I will settle for less? Why am I willing to settle for less? Why am I not willing to have what I deserve? Okay? Those are questions about me. I can't answer questions for somebody else about, like, well, why wasn't I good enough for them? Those are the things we always want to ask somebody. Well, I did everything for you. Why didn't you want me? I did, I was there for you. I paid the bills. I did this. I treated you right. I gave you everything I wanted, blah, blah, blah. I tried to look hot for you, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, it's not about you in that moment. It's about that person. Maybe it's about you, but even if you could change those things, they wouldn't want you back. And I don't want somebody that's not going to have direct conversations with me face to face and is going to treat me like that in any condition in life. I just don't, So why today I am so grateful for the relationship that I have with my husband. 17 years, a lot of marriage counseling, a lot of bad times, a lot of fantastic times, And I don't have to guess at where I stand, and neither does he. And that's really powerful in a relationship, But you don't deserve this. What you deserve is to know that, and I know, like, when you said, like, you're having a really hard time getting over this and it's been like a year or whatever, what you deserve to know is that you are deserving of a love that will treat you right, okay? And you, like my mom said to me one time, none of us are promised a mate in life. You might not meet somebody. So that love might need to come from you. And if it's a year later and you're still holding on, then what I would have told myself that situation is, I really was very focused on this person that I wasn't even attracted to, kind of fell in love with over a period of time, and then treated me like crap, okay? I almost said the S word. Treated me like crap, and I was willing to do all that because there was something that was missing from within me. And I'm not saying this to be hurtful, I'm just telling you how I responded to that in the past. So then I have to do the work on it. This is where I say to people, because I was told this by my first sponsor, take time. Get to know who you are, right? I don't know who this person is that hurt you like that. I don't think you deserved it. I don't think any person deserves that. But I will tell you what I do know, and what I have learned the hard way through life, okay, is that nothing that this man did to you is about you, okay? And that is something that was really, really hard for me to learn. I remember years and years and years ago, Oprah doing this whole thing with Maya Angelou, and she was talking about people gossiping about her and people talking about her. And she's like, yes, but they're saying this. And Maya Angelou looked at her and she said, but you're not in that. She goes, well, what do you mean I'm not in that? It's about me. They're talking about me, blah, 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 whatever. She goes, and you're not in that. None of it has to do with you. And I heard it at the time and I was like, oh my God, light bulb moment. I love that. But I didn't get it. It took me 20, 25 more years to get it. I get it today. I don't know that I really even acted out. When somebody has an opinion about you or treats you a certain way or has a thought about you, none of that has anything to do with you. That has to do with them, okay? Now, they might have some feelings about whatever you do, but how they respond to it, how they treat you after, that has to do with them, okay? Because any decent human being would come to you and talk to you and tell you what's going on. And hey, listen, I don't want to be in this relationship anymore. We've been together for a while, and then you can talk it out and say, well, I'm kind of hurt and I'm sad. And hey, I understand that, And that's ideal. And that doesn't really happen with a lot of breakups in the world, which is why breakups are so difficult. And that's why we're left with so much unresolved pain, okay? But you put yourself through a year of misery. You deserve a year of joy. You deserve to get through this a little bit and allow yourself to have some happiness in your life. So I saw this saying in the letter from the Shy Wolf Candle Company, and I thought this is totally perfect about this, because what she's saying in her inspiration for this month is the ability to say no to certain things in our life, and how hard it is to set boundaries and say no to certain things. And so I think that this is such a fantastic, I'm just going to read these 3 paragraphs for you out of context, because I just read them in this other video. But I want to read part of this to you. I'm going to kind of skim some of it. Saying no has cracked open a deeper kind of bravery, not the outward bravery of leaping into the unknown. And this could be for you saying, no, I'm not going to continue to be treated this way. No, I'm not going to allow myself to be hurt over this. I am going to stop unfollowing this person on all social media. I don't need to see what's going on with their life. When my friends want to tell me what's going on with their life, I'll say, no, I don't need to know. They've moved on. They're not part of my life anymore. I don't need to know. I need self-preservation. I need to take care of myself. I felt I had to, but the quiet bravery of choosing what honors me, even when I worry it will disappoint others, even when it means stepping away from paths I once thought were mine, each no has been a clearing, a space where I can breathe again, where my own voice isn't drowned out by the noise of obligation or fear of missing out. Of course, there have been no's that left me doubting myself, no's that felt heavy with guilt. And she goes on to say all this, and then she says, sometimes the hardest no isn't to something that clearly is wrong for us. Sometimes it's saying no to something that looks right on paper, something that feels safe, easy to explain to others, that maybe even ticks most of the boxes we thought we needed filling. And then she goes on to say, if you find yourself at a crossroads right now, overwhelmed by choices or obligations, I wonder if there's a no quietly waiting for your permission. I wonder what beautiful, wild, honest things could grow in your life if you allowed yourself the grace to clear space, to protect your energy as fiercely as you nurture your dreams, to believe that growth will meet you there. Your no doesn't make you selfish or difficult or ungrateful. It makes you discerning, it makes you sovereign, and maybe most importantly, it makes you free. And then she does this exercise about holding this piece of paper, and on the piece of paper, write down one thing you're ready to say no to. You could say, I'm saying no to this, the way that I was treated in this relationship. No, it wasn't okay. Just because you didn't get to decide how it ended doesn't mean that you don't get to decide how you react to it or respond to it. It could be a commitment, a habit, a belief about yourself, anything that, anything that feels heavy or no longer aligned with who you are becoming. Holding the paper in your hand, say quietly or just in your heart, I honor the part of me that needed this once, but I trust that part of me that knows it's time to let it go. And then you let it go. And then you ask yourself, what am I making space for in return? You didn't get to decide that this man was going to leave you and that he was going to treat you this way and that he was going to go meet somebody else and get engaged right away. But you do get to choose how now you are going to respond to it. Okay? You deserve love in your life. We all do. So I hope that that was helpful. I wish you the best. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. I love you guys. If you have any questions for me, please put them in the comment section below. I love you guys, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.